So, hi and welcome everyone to the June edition of the new contributor orientation meeting. First and foremost, before we start off, a few housekeeping items. As mentioned, this meeting is being recorded and will be published on YouTube. All meetings in the Kubernetes community abide by a code of conduct, which you can find at the link at the bottom of the slide. It basically sums up to please be respectful of speakers and your fellow attendees and generally be excellent to each other. Please use the chat to ask questions and have a discussion throughout the call. We will have a Q&A section at the end where we encourage you to ask questions verbally if you would like to. A copy of the slides will be available on GitHub, and the link through there is in the meeting invite. Note that in GitHub, the slides that are a PDF file, the links in the decks are not clickable. So basically, you should be able to click the links once you've downloaded these slides. All right. The purpose of this meeting is to orient you in the Kubernetes community. That means giving you a sense of how our community is working and what your part is or could be or within it. We will start off with a presentation to convey some information about the community, and then we have a Q&A section where you're welcome to ask any questions you would like to have on your host today. Hearing the questions also can benefit anyone from watching the recording. So please do ask questions verbally during this time if you're comfortable. Otherwise, I can also read them. Hi, I am Mario. I'm your today's host. I am part of SIG Infra. I am also one of the co-chairs for SIG Contributor Experience, and I'm a ComSub project tech lead. The Kubernetes community is a very, very big group of people who work together to maintain the Kubernetes project. These are some numbers that we have, how big the community is. We track data via our contributors via GitHub and a few other contribution tools. And we collect them in a tool called DevStats. This is basically a big database of information about Kubernetes contributions, and you're welcome to explore it yourself. We pulled the stats in March, not in November. We pulled the stats in March, and we now have over 94,000 contributors who made 4.5 million contributions, and these getting reviewed by only 7,800 users with reviewer privileges. We will talk more about what a contribution might mean and who a reviewer might be a little later in this presentation. Now, before we dive deep into the community, some of you may be unfamiliar what Kubernetes is and what it does. Kubernetes is an open source container orchestration tool. Open source means that it's made by people around the world, some of whom are paid to work on it, but many who are volunteers. And the code of Kubernetes software is publicly available under an open source license that describes exactly who, when, and how the software and its source code can be used. And the cool thing that Kubernetes does is orchestrating containers. So let's go over what this means. Businesses have many applications they need to run. For example, they may have a payroll application, logistics application, or a company website. These applications need to run somewhere, so businesses also have a lot of computers to run those applications on. Kubernetes enables businesses to say, hey, Kubernetes, here's a computer I have, and here's an app that I need to run. And you can describe on various levels of details about how that application needs to run or the hardware it might need. And Kubernetes will run it on this machine for you. It also provides some handy functionality for managing applications while it's running. For example, it can provide some help for the process for updating the application to a new version. Exactly how it does all of this magic is what basically Kubernetes contributors are doing in their daily work to maintain and improve. Let's learn how Kubernetes is organized and how it does the work. As mentioned, Kubernetes is an open source project within the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. or shortly called CNCF. The CNCF is a non-profit organization with the stated mission to make cloud native ubiquitous. To that end, they support many open source projects that enable companies to run applications in the cloud. The CNCF provides a variety of guidance and support to the projects, so like legal support, code of conduct, help with logos, copyright, and more. The pyramid below the CNCF represents the structure of the Kubernetes community. At the top, interfacing the most with the CNCF and presiding over various topics that affect the entire community and the project is the steering committee. It's a body of 7 members who are elected by the Kubernetes organization members. We will go over what it means to be an org member in a bit. With a project so large, there are many different concepts within that project that you need unique skills and knowledge. For example, the way Kubernetes knows where the workloads are run, do what they do is one area of expertise. Meanwhile, the challenge of writing, maintaining Kubernetes docs needs folks with different expertise. People who work on specific areas of the project gather together in what is called so-called special interest groups, or SIGs. These break up the work of building and maintaining the Kubernetes project into more sensible chunks. Sometimes, however, there are big areas that need attention that are both very significant and cut across SIGs. Sometimes these are split out into what is called a working group. A working group is generally temporary. It's created to address a specific issue and then meant to disappear as a focus group once that topic is officially addressed by ongoing SIG work. For example, working group for long-term support for Kubernetes. A defining characteristic of working groups is that generally don't own any code or features, at least not in the long term. Working groups either is or will be owned by one or more SIGs, and by the time the working group dissolves, it might also become a new SIG. But even the work of a SIG can get quite broad in scope. There can be hundreds of contributors in a single SIG. So SIGs further break down in their own work into sub-projects. Currently, we have 24 special interest groups, 7 working groups, and 3 committees in the Kubernetes community. We can further group the SIGs and working groups by their scope. Some groups operate on a project level, and all other work in a project depends basically on their work. Some groups work on a horizontal level, meaning that they have technical focus that is both deep and broad and own core functionality from a project architecture perspective. Vertical groups have deep specific technical focus that depends on the work of horizontal groups. And of course, both horizontal and vertical groups depend on the work of project groups. Here's a diagram that you can reference for all SIGs and working groups that are currently active in the Kubernetes project. To just name a few, we have SIG release and docs are groups you might be familiar with, and they operate on a project scope level. So you may have not have known it, but you've probably encountered the work of SIG API machinery and SIG auth. We consider these horizontal groups. And in the vertical groups, you can find lots of familiar concepts like auto-scaling, scheduling, networking, and node. You can basically go back to this diagram later when you're exploring groups where you want to contribute. Also, feel free to ask questions in the chat if you have any regarding those working groups. Now you know why or how the community is structured. Let's now basically figure out why you would contribute or where you best fit in. There are many reasons people contribute to the community. For some, it's a job requirement. There are also contributors who work with the community on a purely volunteer base, and there are also those who are somewhere in the middle, where their work needs to contribute them to contribute, but they also do extra work for the community outside of their job. So why do so many people contribute without getting paid? They may want to grow specific skills for their resume, or maybe they want to meet people working in the industry. Maybe they just think the technology is cool and they want to dive deep and help build it. Or sometimes folks just like being part of a community of people working towards a similar goal. You should think carefully about why you want to contribute. As you get more engaged with the community, you get more out of it, and you can clearly tell people what you want. If others know you what you are, you want, it's easier for them to basically help you to achieve your goals and to move you into a direction where they can help you find work opportunities and basically also help you to get connections that benefits you the most. Regardless of why you're interested in contributing, you're probably wondering about what it means to be a contributor. To answer this question, what it means to be a contributor, first let's find out what counts as a contribution. The truth is, any work you do to support a Kubernetes project is a welcome and value contribution to the community. That sounds broad and vague, but it's important. There's a lot of work contributors do behind the scenes to make this project run. And it's certainly not all writing code and making pull requests on GitHub. That said, it can certainly it can certainly help you to have some examples. And here we have a couple of examples that what counts as a contribution. And some of them you might find as something that you didn't consider. For example, did you start off by posting a hello message in the Kubernetes new contributors channel in Kubernetes Slack? That's a contribution. Have you commented on an issue or a proposal for a new feature to share your thoughts and opinions? That's also a contribution. Even watching or attending this meeting right now is a contribution. As the community, we try our best to acknowledge and appreciate contributors in the community in many forms. But if so many vague and varied things can be counted as a contribution, then what does it mean to be a contributor? There are varying levels of being a contributor. You might remember the slide earlier where we mentioned contributors and reviewers. Basically, let's see what those terms mean. Starting at the bottom, anyone can be a contributor. If you do anything mentioned in the previous slides and more, you're already a contributor. If you're contributing to the community in a way that you might basically call as a non-member contributor. This means you pop into the community, you do something and small contributions in a disconnected way, and then you leave again. But if you really want to be involved in the community, you might want to go for org membership. Org members refer to a member of the Kubernetes organization on GitHub. Being an org member gives you higher privileges to act with the tools the contributors use for their work, like our Prowlbot in GitHub, helps us to apply labels and configure issues using GitHub comments. Having also org membership is a sign that you're an active, engaged contributor who intends to contribute in a more structured way within the community. You're not just picking up a single issue or asking a one-off question. You probably develop expertise in a certain area of the project. You might be contributing to one or more sub-projects in a consistent and measurable way. So you'll be ready to become an org member when the contributors you work with regular are familiar with your work and will vouch for you as a sponsor when you go for your request to be an org member. Beyond becoming an org member, there's an increasing level of trust and ownership and responsibility that you could choose to pursue. Once you've engaged in an area for a while, you might have enough knowledge to help review contributions or pull requests from other contributors. Eventually, you might be trusted enough to have the final say. There's a question, what does it mean to sponsor? Basically, to get an org membership, you need 2 other members of the community who are not from the same company as you to basically sponsor your joining the organization. So they basically need to vouch for you that you will become one of the org members. Not so much, but basically that it shows that people are aware that you are actually doing work in the project and they are familiar with the work that you do. Yeah. So basically, then when the next step when it comes to become an approver, so that you can basically approve code. If you become a strong expert of a specific area who is basically highly trusted and regarded for the expertise, you might take on new responsibilities. You might become the person to come with questions and you might lead triage sessions or other work for the area. At that point, you become a sub-project owner. If you're an expert who starts leading things in that area, also might take on responsibilities for various resources in that area, how they relate to other parts of the project. For example, it might take the responsibility of the README file, defining the whole sub-project, which is where basically people to go and learn about the sub-project. You might be the contact person who triages requests from other parts of the project. At that point, you might be a sub-project lead. If you're leading a whole sub-project, that's a considerable chunk of work within a SIG. You're probably interacting and collaborating with leads and other sub-projects. You're probably developing a pretty strong sense of mission, objectives, and ongoing work in a SIG as a whole. At this point, you may become a chair or tech lead for an entire special interest group. If you remember the community structure that we showed before, you might be wondering if becoming a member of the steering committee would be the next step, but steering is an elected position. You can actually run for steering at any point past org membership, but you're likely to get more elected the better contributors know you and know your work. This ladder might seem like a one true path in contribution. But I want to remind you that there's no single path for your contributing journey. Most contributors ending up contributing in multiple areas of the project. Some people even develop ownership in different SIGs at the same time. Just because you're learning and contributing in one SIG doesn't mean you can't check out the other. Remember, most contributors are at least partially volunteers. Almost everyone contributing is doing it because they love it. So look around and find what you love and then basically do this. So now the interesting question is, after you learned how this community is structured, how you basically get started. You already have maybe raised some non-member contributions, but how to get deeper into this. The fastest way to learn and make yourself useful is find a SIG that suits your interest and get started to be involved there. That might not mean immediately picking up an issue and writing code. Often getting involved means attending meetings, reading notes, reading existing issues, and generally try to get a feeling what the group is doing. To stay up to date on what's going on in the community, you want to join the Slack channel and our Kubernetes developer Google Groups. These two tools are the primary ways the community does asynchronous work and receives announcements. So let's learn about our SIGs and where you can find the information. So the best place to learn about the SIGs is when you go to github.com/kubernetes/community. There you basically find a repository where all of the SIGs are being listed. In this repo, you can find folders containing information about each SIG and each working group. When you click on a SIG folder in the community repo, it will show you that folder's README file. At the top of the file, you'll find a brief summary of the SIG's focus area and likely a link to their more detailed team charter. This will give you a broad and high-level idea of what the SIG does. Below the summary, below you find the summary of the group. You'll find information about when the group meets. Attending meetings is often a great way to learn more about who is in this group and what they are currently working on and how they do their work. Attending meetings is a great way to start to get knowing to the group of people you're interested in working with, and to just get started in it. You'll also find information about SIG leadership. Most SIGs have both the concept of chairs and tech leads. These leaders are the same level of trust and responsibility, but likely own different types of tasks supporting the SIG. Chairs tend to do more management type of work for the SIG, while tech leads tend to do more architectural leadership, like managing repos and certain kinds of technical decision and processes. Each SIG defines what those roles means by themselves, and each treated a little bit different. You'll also find contact information for the SIG. Most of the SIGs in Kubernetes do a lot of asynchronous communication in their channel within the Kubernetes Slack, which you can join by slack.kls.io. Each SIG also has a mailing list. Important announcements for all contributors to a SIG will go out in the mailing list. The mailing list will also be the single source of truth to get the invites to all of their meetings. You also find information about where to find issues and PRs related to that SIG and other informations like GitHub teams that are part of that SIG. Also, every contributor should join the Kubernetes Dev Google group, which is called also KDev. This is the main primary mailing list and communication channel for all information. Checking out each SIG folder will show you lots of information about the specific SIG. But when you find where would you go to find information about all of the SIG meetings? The community has a website which you can find under ks.dev, and we have a website there which is called which you can find under /calendar. And in /calendar, you basically see a list of all of the meetings, and clicking on one of them will bring up a new window so that you can add this meeting to your own calendar. This is also a great way to get a sense when which group meets, because especially for APAC and EMEA, there are still a lot of meetings still for only US friendly or America friendly times. But a couple of SIGs already started having APAC and EMEA friendly meeting hours. Current work opportunities is basically now we want to have a look what current work opportunities we have in the different SIGs that called for help, and to get more input there when it comes to work that can be done. We basically reach out to SIG leads to ask them if what current work opportunities are available, and how to get started for new potential contributors. We have something which is called evergreen opportunities. Evergreen opportunities are opportunities that work basically is always available and needs to be done on a regular base. For most of the SIGs, we are always looking for someone who is taking meeting notes. Meeting notes is basically something that requires you to have no prior skill. It's joining the meetings, and usually they ask for a note taker and for people then to take notes. We are aware that we have AI note takers, but the community is on the base that AI note takers are not used and are usually kicked out of any meeting the moment they join. The good thing for being a note taker is it's a very friendly task, because people are you just type along and you can ask questions if you don't get something, and it's something really that is required by a lot of folks, because a lot of people who can't make the meeting often refer to those meeting notes. For SIG Contrib X, we have the SIG Spotlight proc, which is always available. It's part of the COM sub-project. There's no experience required. It's basically writing a blog post about a specific SIG, and usually those blog posts getting published also on the Kubernetes IO blog. We have also the maintainer summit. For the maintainer summit, we have a requirement that you are already an org member, but there we are looking for in a regular base for people helping selecting talks for those maintainer summits. Other things are in SIG Docs. SIG Docs has a separate or their own way of doing reviews. There's a PR Wrangler shadow program, which basically already enables you to do reviews pretty early in the stage. They also have a new contributor meet and greet, which is the first Tuesday of the month at 10:30 UTC. And for more information, you can basically check out Kubernetes/community/SIG docs on GitHub. SIG Arch is looking for people to get involved in the broader scope of the project. This requires you to learn and engage a lot over a long time for the general architecture of Kubernetes. This will require more time invest for your side. Evergreen opportunities are great because they represent work that always needs to be doing and which is mostly well defined, but it's also a lot of one-off work. But we have a lot of one-off work, which means an issue needs fixing or we need a new feature, and many of those tasks require a certain skill set to complete. You might see an open request that requires a skill you want to develop and think you should pick it up, that task to learn. Be wary of doing this. If the task was easy for someone already, the SIG would do it. It probably wouldn't be an open request. Many requests will require skills. And those topics are open because either no one in the community has those skills or no one in the community have time to do it. So if you're picking a task that requires a skill, please make sure that you already have those skills because there's probably no one who can teach you this skill. So because teaching skills would also result in more work, and we are on our contributors only have so much time. But if you're coming to the Kubernetes community with existing skills like a certain programming language or certain technical skills like Linux networking expertise or expertise in a cloud provider, these tasks could already be a great opportunity for you to contribute to the community. So we have a current call for help, which requires a certain set of skill. So we are looking for maintainers for KLS.dev. The requirement there is a Hugo and Doxy. We are also looking for a for mentoring program management to help set up and execute Kubernetes group mentorings. Basically, requirements are organizational skills, planning, and communication. Also, we need help for the community to track various mentoring programs like LFX, Google Summer of Code, and so on, which also requires you to be familiar with the Kubernetes community and also program managing skills. We are also looking to extend our election tool, which is Elector. It's a mix of Python and Flask. It's our homegrown software to run elections for the community. For SIG Docs, we are desperately looking for someone to review blog posts. You need to be familiar with style guide, content guide, and our reviewing PR guide, and to have well spoken in English in a written case, and yeah. This is really something that we are looking for. We have a SIG Docs blog Slack where you can basically hop in. Also, we are looking for people for localization, which means that you need to be familiar with English and at least one other language. We are also looking for people to help with our ProwBot, ideally with familiar with Prow. And we are also looking for someone to help us furthermore develop our conformance testing tool, Hydrophone, especially after the announcement of the AI conformance platform. We will have to develop more features for our conformance tool there. For SIG networking, we are looking for people to help building the Ingress Nginx Gateway API implementation from scratch. This is a general call for help, and also API reviewers for the only thing is that you need to be familiar with the project for a long time in the area of SIG networking. SIG release is also looking for release automation help. Skills required are coding and scripting, and willingness to develop a deep familiarity with the release process over time. And SIG security is looking for people to help Kubernetes understand and ensure CVEs. And you need to be familiar with CVEs and its security concepts. Any questions so far?
Pretty interesting. I don't have questions. It's just overwhelming. A lot of information.
Yeah, the good thing is everything is recorded, so you can also rewatch it a later point in time. So this will be
Definitely.
also in the
Perfect.
Kubernetes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, then let's quickly jump into our biggest problem that we have. The biggest problem is the common contributor pitfall. Um, the problem that we face, or a lot of people face, and where we also lose a lot of new contributors, is the good first issue trap. The scenario goes something like this. You're a new prospective contributor and you're excited to make your mark on the community. You find an issue with a good first issue label on GitHub. You think, hey, that's a good first issue. And you're claiming the issue, you're writing some code, and then you have contributed to Kubernetes. It's usually not how it goes. Once you pick up the good first issue, how are you going to complete it? I mentioned earlier the Kubernetes community uses tools like Prow to help us managing issues. Are you familiar with the bot? It's fine if you're not, but maybe you just start writing code, and then those reviewers, approvers, owners we mentioned before will appear and make sure the issue has the right label and stuff. And once you've written the code, you'll also need to basically get attention of the reviewers. And we saw that we only have so much reviews, so we only have a small amount of reviewers for your PR. And there's a lot more contributors than there are reviewers. When you make your PR, reviewers and approvers will be automatically assigned. But what if there's an issue in your code? You might need to go back and forth with the reviewers on GitHub. Are you comfortable using comments and pull requests to see those work get completed? Most good first issues that get picked up by new non-member contributors never make it to completion. The code never gets checked in, and then the community has all those stale issues and PRs sitting around for work we really would need it done. But the person got lost and ended up abandoning their contribution halfway. Then those reviewers, approvers, and owners have to go through the process of triaging the issue, reopening it again, or whatever, and yeah, get it back on the table. So you can avoid this trap by joining a SIG and stick with it. When you know the people you're working with and the goals you're working toward, you can be a valued partner not just for doing the work, but also make sure the work gets done, because this is our biggest problem. And the easiest way is basically join a SIG, join their meetings, engage with the people, communicate with the people, because in the end, everyone is we are all people, and we forget things, and we have a lot of on our plate beside the open source project itself. And there we are always looking. And if you give back to the community, the community will also give back to you. So as Truman already mentioned, this was a lot of information. And this is just the orientation meeting. When you join your first SIG meeting, you will probably get even more overwhelmed. A lot of those SIG meetings exist for basically active contributors collaborating with each other, which is an in-progress work, which means that we talk about stuff that happened 3 meetings before, which you didn't join, for example. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't join as a new contributor. You will learn faster by joining those meetings and how a SIG is working, and what work opportunities come up. But it also might mean that you felt left out and lost for the first few times. Don't be afraid to ask questions by speaking up and asking in the call or asking in the SIG or sub-project Slack. We basically want you to be part of this. So just raise your voice. No one is angry over any question or something like this. The community is big and diverse. And it's diverse in terms of people, skills, technology, and so much more. It can also take some time for you to find a place that clicks with you. There might be a particular SIG or sub-project where you find more opportunities to build the skills or connections that are most important for you. Don't forget that you can move around and explore other groups within the project. Most contributors end up contributing in multiple areas, and many find a particular area they want to dive into. No two contributors have the same journey, so you'll need to explore to find the best place for you, regardless of which area you explore. We need your help, and we are glad that you are here. So we've covered a lot of today. Getting started in the Kubernetes community means learn a lot of basic tools, processes, and structures and more. Check out those links that we have here to get more information. And now we have some time left for questions, if there are any. I won't answer any questions related to Kubernetes Slack because this is still being discussed. If there are no questions, then thank you for joining. I hope we will see each other in one or the other future SIG meeting, wherever it may be. And I hope you got some information today where to best start. Check out kns.dev/calendar to find the SIG meetings. And I wish you all the best for your journey and see you around. Bye bye.